The Bangladeshi government recently said protests in the Asian country over allocation of government jobs was sponsored by people with ulterior motives. In Bangladesh, 30% of government jobs must be given to the families of people who participated in the struggle for independence from Pakistan. Bangladesh got independence in March 1971. To resolve the emotive issue, the country's Supreme Court on Sunday, July 21st, scrapped the existing law on allocation of government jobs, ruling that up to 93% of government jobs should be competitively filled. 5% would go to the families of pro-independence fighters, while the remaining 2% will go to special interest groups such as people living with disabilities. The 3-week protests in the South Asian nation have left at least 114 people dead. University students led the protests, but the government, through the Attorney General Abu Mohammad Amin Uddin, said on Sunday that students were not part of the violence and arson since last Monday, July 15th. Uddin vowed the government would take strict action against external plotters of the protests. It is the same language that Kenya's President William Ruto is speaking after Kenyans said they would engage in a fresh round of protests on Tuesday following Ruto's rehiring of 6 ministers from the sacked cabinet. About 50 people have lost their lives during the protests, which started off as an anti-tax hike demonstrations. According to Ruto, faceless anarchists are out to sabotage Kenya's democracy. The president spoke in Kenya's Rift Valley county of Bomet on Sunday.
We must guard the peace and stability of our nation and the democracy of our country so that it is not undermined and it is not sabotaged by anonymous, faceless, formless, sponsored people who want to use violence and anarchy and mayhem to control our nation.
His remarks come on the back of allegations he made against USA's Ford Foundation. Ruto had accused the foreign organization of sponsoring local groups, including a media outlet and a rights group, to organize the youth-led protests. Foreign Affairs Ministry's Principal Secretary Coril Singoe claimed that Ford Foundation had sent about $5.8 million to fund the protests, allegations that the American organization vehemently denies. In the neighboring Uganda, President Yoweri Museveni has warned people planning anti-corruption protests in the capital Kampala on Tuesday, July 23rd. In a televised address last Saturday, Museveni termed the planned protests illegal, warning that the demonstrators would be playing with fire. Museveni, just like the other mentioned government, said elements working for foreign interests were behind the protests. Governments have privilege of intelligence information. At the same time, the citizens' protests are caused by specific grievances. Accusing external players of funding domestic protests, is it a legitimate accusation or is it an easier route for governments to downplay the citizens' dissatisfaction?